Hello everyone, it's Wednesday, and that means it's time for another Crack-A-Pack. Right now we're doing Rivals of Ixalan. We're going to open the pack, and I will talk about it in the context of Limited, talk about what I think about all the cards right now in Rivals of Ixalan Limited, and then tell you what I would first pick. So first up, our first common is Legion Conquistador. So he is horrible if he's a one-of, but if you get like 2, 3, 4 of them, he gets to be pretty good, especially in a Vampire deck. There are times where you can play this, like draw one of them in the late game and play it, and you draw 2 more of them, and your opponent just scoops a lot of the time because they're in top deck mode, they don't have any action, and then you've suddenly just drawn 3 creatures. Yeah, they're all mediocre, but you drew them all, and you have action in your hand. Wouldn't first pick it, though. Next we have Crashing Tide. This is a solid little spell. It's better in an aggressive deck and at its best in a Merfolk deck, but it's fine in any deck. The ability to bounce anything and draw a card off of it is pretty nice. It would have to be a weak pack to first pick it, but, you know, it could happen. Next, we have Stampeding Horncrest. This thing's fine. It's a nice top of the curve for like a red-green Dino deck. 5 mana for 4/4 haste is a nice little body. It's bigger than a lot of things in this format, and it can rumble pretty well, but I also wouldn't first pick it. You don't want to play it unless you're a dinosaur deck either, because without haste, it's not so good. Plummet, I mean, it's a sideboard card. It's a good one. You'll side it in a lot. It destroys flyers. You're going to see a lot of those. Dusk Chargers next. This card has been sort of mediocre, I think. It's like a 4 mana 3/3 in the early game, 4 mana 5/5 in the late game. By the time it becomes a 5/5, its body usually isn't all that relevant. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's nice, like in the late game, if the board is like empty for one reason or another, or has very few creatures, and you rip this off the top of your library, and it's like the biggest thing out there. But don't like first picking it either. Next, we have Jadecraft Artisan. I like this little comment. It helps you push through some damage. It happens to be a Merfolk, and it's got some decent stats. Right now, I guess it's at the top, but I definitely don't want to first pick it. I think we have a new candidate for first pick, though, here in Kitesail Corsair. This thing is just great. It's very aggressive. It's hard to block in the early game because it gains flying every time it attacks. It's got good stats for that. It is a useful creature type. It enables raid. It just fits into a lot of strategies in this format. And because of that, it's what we would first pick. These like really aggressive 2-drops, a lot of them, the best of them anyway, are first pickable. But I think we probably take Bombard over it. Great removal spell, instant speed. People are still playing auras and combat tricks a lot in this format, but this card can really punish them for it in a way that they couldn't be punished in Triple Ixalan because it's instant speed and it can give you a 2-for-1 in a lot of situations. So it's definitely our first pick now. Next, we have Jadebearer. Don't like this card very much at all. Even in a Merfolk deck, it's not the greatest payoff, mostly because if you play it early, it's not that good. Even if you play it later and you put a +1/+1 counter on a guy, the body it leaves behind as a 1/1 is just so irrelevant. You'll play it if you really have a lot of Merfolk payoffs, but other than that, I don't like it. Okay, well, we're having an interesting debate here now. We have Luminous Bonds. Basically, every color has a high-quality removal spell at common in this format. Bombard's the red one. Luminous Bonds is the white one. They're both very good. And the question is, which is better? I think I like Bombard a little more than Luminous Bonds, and that's because it does things at instant speed and it kills most things too. Luminous Bonds can shut down larger creatures, but the problem it has is it doesn't shut down static or activated abilities, and there's a significant number of those in this format, and it can't do anything about them. People can also find ways to remove Luminous Bonds with bounce spells and stuff like that. The pro side of it being a permanent is it does help you ascend a little more quickly, but it's a great card, but I think I would take Bombard over it. I think the two of them are kind of 1A and 1B in this pack, though. They're very similar. Next, we have Legion Lieutenant, who is the gold signpost uncommon for Black-White, a Vampire Lord. It's strong enough that in a lot of packs I think it's worth first picking, but this pack has, between Luminous Bonds and Bombard, it has 2 very good mono-colored removal spells that are splashable. So I wouldn't want to commit to the gold card. I think, so far, I would take it over Kitesail Corsair. It just has a lot of upside. The Vampire deck can be quite good. Okay, well now we have another removal spell. This pack is making me really think about how I rank these removal spells. And we have Baffling End. It's a great card. 2 mana to exile something with converted mana cost 3 or less is good. Yeah, when it gets removed, they get a dinosaur. And I know I've seen in the comments a lot of people be hung up on that when they think about the card, but don't think about it that way. This is because most of these spells who exile something and are enchantments and are white give your opponent back their creature after it dies, after it gets destroyed anyway. So what you're doing here is basically the same thing, except they're getting a dinosaur. In a lot of cases, the dinosaur won't actually be better than whatever you hit, because you can hit flyers and things like that. And a 2/2 flyer or a 2/3 flyer, like Exultant Sky Marcher, is a lot better than a 3/3 trampling dinosaur in most scenarios. So it's a good removal spell. That said, I do think I like Bombard and Luminous Bonds more than I like it. All three of them are first pickable. So is Kitesail Corsair. This is a strong pack. We have 4 cards that I would be like, yeah, I would take that in a lot of packs. I've first picked those before. They're not too bad. But I think I would take Bombard, then Luminous Bonds, then Baffling End. I think it goes in that order for me. All right, our next card is Aquatic Incursion. This isn't a great card. It's okay in a Merfolk deck. The Merfolk really didn't get a lot of great payoffs in Rivals of Ixalan, and this is an example of that. It does help you get Ascend because it gives you 3 permanents, but making in 1 Merfolk unblockable really isn't that great, especially for 4 mana. A lot of them just aren't big enough for that to matter, so yeah, I don't like this card much. Definitely wouldn't first pick it, and I don't even play it in all my Merfolk decks. So, all right, well, we have a cool rare, cool but not good, in Dead Man's Chest. This card's really cool design, really cool flavor-wise. Basically, you can put it on your opponent's creature, and when it dies, you exile cards equal to its power from the top of its owner's library, and you can cast a non-land card from among any non-land cards from among them as long as it remains exiled, and you can spend mana of any color to do it. So there's a lot of value potential here, and I think that blinds people. I mean, I really want to play this card and have it work. It just won't most of the time. So first you have to spend a card to put it on your opponent's creature, and it really doesn't do anything in the initial stages, right? Maybe it keeps them from attacking or blocking with it, so it's like a bad pacifism, a bad Luminous Bonds in this set. But it's not even necessarily going to stop them from doing that. The second thing is you need to put it on a significantly large creature for it to actually do something. And those two things don't pair very well. If you're putting it on like a 6/6, like a Colossal Dreadmaw, they're not going to be that afraid to attack with it because it's so big it's hard to kill in combat. Now, the dream, I guess, is to play this and then kill their creature, but you're still spending 2 cards to do it. And unless you're getting at least like 3 spells from Dead Man's Chest when the trigger goes off, you're still coming out behind. It's a lot of setup for an effect that only works if your opponent is playing really big creatures. If you're putting this on like a 2/2 or a 3/3, you haven't done anything in most cases. You could get really lucky, and I'm sure there's some of you who've played Dead Man's Chest and had it really be bomb level power. But I can bet you if you played a whole draft, you probably also had games where it was completely useless. And that's what it's going to be like 95% of the time. So I wouldn't take it over any of the cards we talked about being first pickable, including Legion Lieutenant. And I wouldn't really take it over a lot of cards in this pack. Well, maybe I would. This pack's not the strongest. After our 5 very good cards, it doesn't have a lot of other good stuff. But in the end, I think I take Bombard. This is another good debatable pack, which is good. Because we have 3 really good removal spells between Baffling End, Luminous Bonds, Bombard, and then the good 2-drop in Kitesail Corsair, not to mention the gold Vampire Lord. So in the comments, let me know what you would first pick. This one is a challenging one to decide. So yeah, tell me in the comments what you would take, and I'll see you guys next week for another Crack-A-Pack.